How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid, which ended up posting a green day inside of the market. We ended up seeing a high of $27.60. And what level I've been talking about for quite some time on this channel is at $27.50. So the moment we had some price action right above this level, that's why I'm like, you know what? There's a good chance this stock could see $28 for this week. And I did talk about that in the previous video as well. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support, we want to know resistance, we want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $27.36, being up 7.80%. On the low, it tested $25.46, and then on the high, testing $27.60. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 33.418 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 23.483 million shares. So we did have above average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 55.06. And then when we take a look at our moving averages, we are below the 100-day. We're also below the 200-day. We did finish just below the 50-day, but we do have strength above the 21-day EMA. And you guys remember how long I've been talking about 2750 being a key level. We ended up seeing a high of 2760. So not too far off from the levels that we're looking for. So if we see some strength in the markets going into tomorrow, I'd want to see Lucid get to $28. You guys guessed that right. Because we know as far as for the 200-day moving average, the moment we can get some price action above this, this puts Lucid back into being bullish. It is no longer being in a bear market. Because as you can see clearly, it has been on a significant downtrend, and then we started consolidating through this phase, and now we're getting ready for that next move up. And that's why I was saying if Lucid was able to continue to hold up above $25, the odds of us getting to $27 and as well as $28 by the end of the week is very high, and so far things are looking really good for this play. If we end up having a reversal or we have a pullback going into tomorrow, then you know I want to see us continue to hold up 25, because one thing that is very clear, there's still demand in the market for Lucid shares, even though it was lagging behind yesterday. So let's go into the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. As we scroll down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings here, you can see from March 29th, we have quite a bit of activity. So the ones that are the most notable, we could see iShares self-driving EV and tech ETF that purchased 154,454 shares. And we also see iShares MSCI that purchased 114,072 shares. Those are the ones that are the highest, but we also do see there's still more activity around 21,000, 17,000, 10,000, 28,000. Again, really great to see. And then when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 57.55%. And then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 4.3 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 2.4 million, updated 29 minutes ago. And then for the short ball-free rate, it is at 8.01%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, you can see for the close of the 25th, it was at 61.16. And then for the close of the 28th, being at 57.55. So one thing that is clear, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution.
Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. So we see on the inflows at 172 and then on the outflows at 136. So we had an inflow day. Keep in mind these numbers are in the millions. Taking a look at the large, it was 12.84. On the medium, it is 76.83. And then on the small, it is 82.30. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 2.19. On the medium, it was 63.48. And then on the small, it is 70.03. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for the close of today, from March the 29th, it was at 10.64 million, and on the 28th being at 4.49 million. When we analyze the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more buying than we had selling. And it wasn't even close either. It was by a large margin. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 2.03%. So this is up there a little bit for a stock like Lucid, but it's still maintaining its range. We've seen it being in the 1% range. We've seen it in the 2s, and usually we don't see it in the 2s that often, but I'm perfectly fine with that because I can see it bringing a lot of attention of traders knowing that Lucid was able to break through key levels. I'll talk about it further inside of the final thoughts, so let's go into it right now. So for my final thoughts for Lucid when it comes to the price action, like I've stated numerous times in my previous videos, if we continue to hold up $25, then there's a good chance we can get to that level of $27.50. Today we got to $27.60. So all we need is $25 to continue to hold. Yes, we did close above $27, and I was saying that I'm looking for Lucid to touch at least around $28 for this week. And there's also a high likelihood we can continue to see strength in Lucid for the month of April. And one of the things that we need to pay attention to is also what's going down inside of the markets. We have the 10-year treasury yield that pulled back a bit. So what does this mean? This makes growth stocks a lot more attractive. I've mentioned this in previous videos as well. Whenever the 10-year yield is spiking, of course, growth stocks that are going to be impacted by this, especially the ones who are not profitable. So knowing that they pulled back, that's why we saw a lot of strength inside of the tech sector. We also have to take into consideration oil has been pulling back quite a bit. So now EVs are getting a lot of attention. It wasn't only Lucid that's been running up. We've seen this with Tesla, the whole entire sector. And I did say in the previous video as well that Lucid is a laggard. And the fact that it was able to catch up today, that's why I was saying, you know what, doing your homework and doing your due diligence is very important when it comes to these plays. Also, when we went on Fintel, we could see institutions have been loading up on shares. So this gives a lot of confidence for all of my long-term investors out there. Plus, on top of that, as far as for the short interest, it does continue to have short squeeze potential. That's why this play comes with a lot of volatility. And if you are going to be buying into it, you have to have a concrete game plan. And before I close this video out, we also can't ignore the fact as far as what's going on between the Ukraine and Russia, we're hearing some progress in regards to negotiations. So of course the market is going to benefit from this. I also did notice when I was doing my research in the early morning, we seen that there's also strength in the European markets. So that trickling down into the US markets and seeing the strength that we had today was really of no surprise. So let's see if this continues. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll make sure to keep you guys inside of the loop. We'll talk soon.